Okay, so I just wanted to throw up a real quick video about something I'm doing here in my shop that other people might not do, or some people might think it's stupid, but it works for me. So my problem is I went to the lumber yard and bought some 10-foot hardwood boards. These were rough cut. I ran them through the planer, got them nice and smooth, parallel on the two sides. So I need to get a nice 90 straight on the other side because I'm trying to make some big wide panels for an entertainment center, and so I need these to be glued up, so almost an invisible seam is what we're looking for. You'll see the grade difference, but you know what I'm talking about. We want a nice smooth seam. We don't want big gaps in it. So here's what I got. Now this by far is not the worst board, but I put this orange string on it, and you can see, and that's not even pulled super tight, there's about a 3/16 inch gap right down through the center here. So that has to be perfectly straight if I'm wanting to glue up to my next panel. So I did not film me building this because I wasn't planning on putting out a video on this, but it works really well. And what I did was I had a sheet of some nice hardwood plywood here. Just so happens I'm going to build some drawers with it in the back, and so I didn't mind going ahead and ripping this down to 16 inches wide. Well, 15 and 7/8 because you got to account for your blades. So these are 15 and 7/8 wide. I ripped this sheet of plywood into 3 pieces. So then I made sure, got my big square, or not square, but my big level right there, and made sure that my seams were nice and straight, and that this thing was perfectly straight. You can see right here, I mean, you can't even feel where those two join up. We got it nice and straight, and just put a couple of screws across here. Made sure, I knew that these boards, these 16-inch boards, were perfectly straight. And so by it being perfectly straight on this side, and then perfectly straight, I don't know if it'll zoom in or focus, but it's perfectly smooth on that side. Threw a couple screws here, did the same down there. So now I have a 16-foot long board that I know has a perfectly straight line going from one end to the other. Now what I'm cutting is 3/4 inch boards. I've got these all planed down. I got a pile over here. These I've already jointed. I've got some more back on the other side that I have to joint. But I just went ahead, made sure that my clamp didn't come down to where it was going to get in the way of my wood, but yet that would hold this assembly tight up against my fence. And so now I have a 16-foot fence for my table saw. Okay, so now I can take these 10-foot long boards and I can place them all the way up against my fence. Now you see here, this is pushed in nice and tight, but we're hitting right here at this end because there's a crown in this board. So right here, we've got, a good 1/4 inch crack going all the way up down, and then it's touching up here again. But because I have the board touching all the way on both sides, it's going to stay exactly that space in between. So I can now push this board through my saw and it will stay perfectly parallel and go straight through. So let's go ahead and cut that off real quick. Okay, so now you can see where there was that big huge crown in this board, it's sitting nice and perfectly straight up against the fence on that cut that we just made. So now all we got to do is come over here to this side, move our fence over. Just a half of a blade is all that would probably be required. I'll go ahead and probably move it over a full blade, and then I'll make another rip cut down this side. Okay, so now this board would be, the edge here on this side is perfectly parallel with that side. However, right here, because of the warpage or the crown, you can see where the sawmill had cut that, and it was a little bit narrower there. So I'm going to have to move my blade over just a hair more. And if you was to take a 1/4 inch cut, you would probably get almost all of it, depending on how bad your board is warped. It's hard to say for sure just how bad the board's warped until you put a straight edge all the way down it. But I try to save as much wood as I can, and I don't mind pushing my board through twice or even 3 times. So I usually just move over a blade's width. So just to show how accurate that was, so you've seen it peeling off. This was towards the front end. You can see where the saw blades were from the mill, and here's the other end. So this in between here is where that low spot was. So I take my micrometer here, let's zero it. I got 0.20. 0.20. So I had the blade set 0.02 of an inch past the edge, and that board is so perfectly straight that it took off and left the blade's thickness plus 0.02 of an inch on the front end, and then 10 foot later we're still getting that same 0.02 of an inch. So you can't get much straighter than that. I hope this may give somebody an idea of how they can get some straight boards in their home shop. You know, you could use a piece of angle iron, aluminum extrusion, anything that you have that is long enough and straight to get that board to push through your saw straight. Because with a short fence, you know, with those crowns, it lets that board kick out as it's pushing through. So you just have to have the board straight. You can also build a jig that you can attach to the board. I have, actually you see right there on the wall is a micro jig joining sled for small boards. It just has the nice little micro jig clamps on it. I can throw in a 3-4 foot board on and clamp it down, put that up against my fence and slide that through the saw, and it works great for short boards, you know. But whenever you come into like a 10-foot board here, that's when you may have issues. And you may not be in a professional woodworking shop that has a, you know, $2,000 joiner up there. And the big thing is you need 16, 20 foot of real estate to keep this thing in always. My shop, even if I wanted to go buy a big joiner, I just don't use one enough to justify that much space. I had bought one of those little small benchtop joiners, but it's so small that it'll let the board rock. So in my opinion, you need a fence or a table that the entire board can sit on, you know, where whatever the crown or rock is, that you can get it stationary and get it to move parallel straight to there. So hopefully this helps somebody. Definitely leave me a comment. You know, the only reason I'm out here doing these is, you know, there's been a few people that said that they really helped them. And so the more people I help, the more I'm going to end up doing these videos like this. So definitely appreciate all your feedback and look forward to putting out another video soon.